Hey, do you think they lied to your mom about what she was supposed to be feeding you? In the past, things were a lot different. Hang around and hear what we've got to say about it.
Welcome to Staying Alive with
Anita,
and Kevin.
how are you guys today?
Hey, we've talked about food and nutrition, but we've never really gone deep into it. So what would you call our eating style? I mean, are we paleo? Are we carnivores? What is it?
I don't think carnivore is exactly it because we eat way too many vegetables. So, not even really paleo either. I started out looking into various kinds of eating when my mom was sick. She was diagnosed with cancer, and so I started looking into all kinds of things. The first thing I looked into was J.J. Virgin's book about things that you needed to eliminate that were causing problems in our diet. And in her opinion, some of the things that people need to be checking for are gluten and dairy, eggs and soy, peanuts, corn, and sugar and artificial sweeteners. And from other reading, I realized that vegetable oil is probably the worst offender.
You didn't really start out on a diet plan or anything like that. It was really more about nutrition and what we should be putting in our bodies.
Yes. Yes. And, the low-fat thing was so pronounced over so many years. It was really pushed on us. And it started about the time I got out of high school. So that's what our parents grew up with. I mean, they were young adults when they started talking about what we should be eating as low-fat.
Right.
And I feel like that was a total mistake. Our brains need fat. Our brain is fat. So we need to put that in there so that we can survive. And so we've kind of gone to a low carb, higher fat, moderate protein eating style. So, and after I looked at the book about taking away things that caused inflammation and allergies possibly, I looked into the Whole30, which then they started taking away things like beans and stuff. And that's some of the things that I grew up eating, and I'm like, there is no way I can stop eating this stuff. I've always eaten bread. I've always eaten beans.
Right.
I've always had eggs. How do you not eat those things?
Right.
And so it was a really big shift in a mindset for me to start cooking different. And it was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you think some of the biggest benefits have been in your mind from us switching over from a normal low-fat, carbohydrate diet to where we're at today?
Oh, I think probably clarity in thought is one thing. I feel like anytime I'm thinking, I don't have that brain fog as bad.
Right.
And a lot of people talk about that as one of the benefits of changing. And then probably I mean, I was borderline, having high blood pressure.
Right.
And immediately my blood pressure dropped to where I'm no longer borderline. So I think that's an important thing too. I mean, they were starting to talk statin drugs,
Right.
and stuff like that. And I wasn't interested.
Right. And currently, neither of us are on any medications whatsoever.
No, not at all. And plan to stay that way.
Right.
If at all possible.
Yeah.
So, and then the cooking is a lot easier. We eat a lot of just real meat, and we eat a lot of vegetables. And so when I first started shopping to do this, I would go in the grocery store and think, what in the world am I supposed to be buying? Because I'm
Right.
looking down these aisles of boxes and bags. And we don't eat that anymore.
Right.
And that's what the majority of the grocery store is made of. So I learned just to kind of stay to the outside. And I know they say that a lot, but that is a really true statement. Stay to the outside of the grocery store and you'll get a lot more fresher.
Yeah. So, is this, are we pure ketogenic or?
Oh, that's, every now and then we go have a treat of some sort.
Right.
And you know what? I think that's real. I mean, the idea is we're going to have to do something we can do for the rest of our lives.
Right.
So if we just stick strictly to this, just letter for letter for letter, I don't think there's any way we could actually truly do that for the rest of our
It's pretty
life.
hard.
It is. I totally agree. So I think that probably we're 85%, and then we leave a little room for error.
Right.
Just because we're trying to be real about it.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
And I know for me, I did the 24 hours of hell rock climbing competition with
Right.
Blake, our daughter.
Right.
And I did that as a standard carbohydrate fueled athlete. I mean, the same as I did a lot of reading, I did a lot of research, looked at ultra marathons and Ironmen and triathlons
Right.
and what they do, and the standard process, the standard feed ritual for them to take constant carbohydrates at 80 to 100 grams an hour because of the output we were putting out. And can't say I necessarily hit the wall, but that cycle of insulin up and down, up and down, up and down for 24 hours, and then for 6 weeks after, I felt horrible.
Yeah.
Just horrible.
You were. I remember you were just sick,
Yeah.
and it was terrible. But even before that, you were saying, "How do I do this? How do I get enough food in here? How do I carry enough food
Right.
to do this?" And maybe you did get enough food during the time that you were doing it, but the fact, like you said, your insulin spiked so much up and down with the
Right.
carbs, it didn't do your body any good.
It was rough. It was rough. And after that, I kind of stepped back and said, if this is what I'm going to feel like after something like this, it's not worth it.
Right. Yeah.
And that bothered me because, I kind of hit a crossroads. What do? I really wanted to continue to be active and be healthy, and I like to push the envelope a little bit, but the way I was feeding, the way that I was taking on nutrition in both my training and the events, it wasn't working.
Right.
And that was when you got me this. You got me the Primal Endurance
Right.
book.
Right.
And I read that about becoming a fat-burning beast.
Right. And one of the reasons I did that is because I had already been reading about the keto and the low-carb, high-fat lifestyle, and it was so different to me. I knew I was gonna, like, when I was trying to introduce that to you, just on, hey, this is what we're going to try, you was going to think I lost my mind. So I felt like if I had somebody that was a little bit more of an expert on it, and an athlete himself,
right,
you would be more apt to be accepting of the idea. And from that point on, we just sort of jumped in.
Yeah, it was a turning point for me, and I read it. I knew I had to do something drastically different.
Right.
Because what I did for 24, it didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work the way I wanted it to work. I got through the event,
yeah,
but again, I felt terrible. I felt like the toll on my body was detrimental.
Right. It wasn't healthy anymore.
No, it wasn't.
Right.
We went past the point of healthy.
Right.
And so, what he had in there really sparked an interest in me when he talked about, how to fuel off the fat and the amount of energy, the amount of kcals of energy that you get from that compared to the sugar-based fuels that I was taking on, the carbohydrate-based fuels I was taking on. It was eye-opening. It was inspiring, and it took a lot of time and a lot of work to get my body transformed to where I felt like it was adequately using fat for fuel.
Well, and we're still working on it every day, trying to make those changes. One of the things that, we both did so much of is we both were really soda drinkers.
Yes, huge amounts of sugar.
Right, you drink the Mountain Dew, but then I drank the sugar-free pop, and that wasn't any good either.
No.
That was just almost as bad. It just fooled your body into thinking you didn't have any calories, but that didn't mean that your insulin didn't spike, and so it caused problems too.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that was, I had a performance rock climbing training book before this, and that was my first introduction to what sugar really does to your body.
Right.
And it was, frankly, it was a little bit terrifying about not only the addictive nature of sugar,
yes,
but he called it straight up a poison. And the way your body responds to it is really the same. It tries to expel it. It doesn't want it.
Right, and then we put so much in that we don't realize how bad we're feeling. Just this week, for some reason, I just decided that I wasn't going to eat along with our plan anymore and started eating a whole bunch of weird things. Well, immediately I started feeling worse, and my eyes felt swollen and my hands felt swollen.
Right.
So it just shows me that eating that way all the time, you don't notice it. But then when you change the way you're eating and then go back,
Right.
immediately your body just starts going, what the crap are you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're right. We've been doing it long enough that you kind of get used to the amount of energy that we have
Right.
has become normal now, and,
Right.
and the clarity that you have has become normal. And like everything, you start to take it for granted a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
You get a little bit off track, and that's when you really notice
Yeah.
the impact. You notice the inflammation and
Definitely.
how you just feel like you have no energy. You can't get up and you can't get started. Whereas when we're clean and we're good and I'm training and exercising and we're eating right, man, I feel like $1,000,000. I roll out of bed in the morning ready to go, and I go hard all day. I don't get that afternoon crash.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need a 2 o'clock nap. And when I lay down at night, I sleep.
Right.
And I sleep
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And this week, having drank a bottle of diet soda 3 or 4 days in a row, my hands get so stiff that I can't hardly close them.
Wow.
And it hurts, and then I go away from that for just a few days and it goes away. So that can't be good for you. So the question is how much pop are you drinking?
Yep.
How much sugar are you putting in your body? How many artificial sweeteners are you putting in your body? When you walk down the aisles at the grocery store, are you picking up boxes of things and bags of things? Maybe if you're picking up frozen bags of vegetables, that's a good thing. But if you are picking up bags of pre-made processed foods,
yeah.
It's not going to do you any good, and it's not doing your family any good. That's another thing that I did want to mention is, sometimes people switch to this just for their own weight loss ideas, and then they're saying, well, my family doesn't want to eat this way, or my kids don't want to eat this way, so they're feeding them the regular food that they ate all along to gain the weight,
right,
and to get to feeling bad and to not have the energy every day. Well, the question is, do you really want to feed that to your children?
Right.
And do you really want your children, okay, so they like it now, but do you want, when they get to an adult, do you want them to have to fight to learn to not like it anymore? So that is a really, really big issue here, is where are we going in America? Where are we going with the way we're eating? And, I know this has been kind of a serious visit here today, but I hope you really consider what you're doing, and I hope you'll take the time to go out and check out a few books and listen to a few videos.
Yeah,
there's a lot of information out there, and if you have any questions about what we're doing, ask below. Well, there's there's a comment section below. You can ask down there, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. If you would like to know some of the books we're reading, just message us. If we are on Facebook too.
Right.
You can message us there. We can tell you what we've been reading. So.
We're not doctors. We're not nutritionists.
Right.
Not necessarily recommendations. This is what we do.
Right. Exactly.
And after a year, 2 years plus of it, we feel like it's working well and done amazing things for us. Been a huge change in our life.
Right.
And we just wanted to share with everybody out there. And we always say, start where you're at.
Right.
And that's not just with training and exercise, but eating and an active overall lifestyle.
Right.
Start today. Get out there and go for a walk, go for a run, enjoy the sun, enjoy the company of your spouse.
Right.
And,
you bet.
enjoy the day.
You betcha. Thanks.